Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. It is Wednesday night, November 14th, which means it is American Horror Story Apocalypse season finale night. And oh man, it's been such a great night already, man. The Seaman did it up live for the whole episode. We did a live watch party on YouTube where we kind of all you guys watched me and I watched the episode and then we conversed. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed interacting with the people who showed up and were hanging out for the hour. We had a lot to discuss and a lot to react to. It was a big episode. The downside, though, I was not able to have my camera recording me as it was recording for YouTube. So if you want to see my live reactions, you're going to have to go and check out the watch party link. So hit the link, check out the watch party. I haven't done it yet. I'll probably do it tomorrow because I'm in the middle of all the coverage and whatnot. But I will drop like time spots so you can jump to the best reactions and see, because there were some things that happened tonight where I was like, no. That's my best reenactment of. But there was some big time pop tonight, man. So I don't even want to waste any time. We gotta get through a non-spoiler section. Then we gotta get to the spoiler section. I really want to get to the spoiler section. So pull up a chair, take a seat. We are getting ready to talk about the season finale, episode 10, Apocalypse Then. And we knew going into it that the episode was gonna have to finish up the past part of the timeline to get us back to where we left off after Cordelia shows up and resurrects all of the witches inside the bunker. And I was a little nervous, right? Because as I've previously mentioned, I felt like 7 and 8 could have been combined into one episode. Tighten that up a little bit, could have gotten us through all the past stuff, to then make this finale episode just all in the present. But knowing what we were going into, I said, if you can get me into the present in the third segment, I'm gonna be okay. And we weren't there right away, right? The third segment was still dealing with a little bit of past stuff, but then it finally did jump to the present. And what we ended up getting in the third segment, the third and fourth segments of the night just absolutely blew my mind. I mean, like I said, like reactions that you were like, woo! Surprises that never in a million years I could have seen coming tonight. Just things that we knew about the season and whatnot may not have all been what we thought it was. And there is one surprise that pops up tonight that I was like, what? There were a couple surprises of characters that popped up I didn't think we would see again tonight. But there was one character I never thought we were going to see because of all the things that had come out prior to this season. That stuff was wonderful. And like I said, it's some of the best, I think, American Horror Story stuff that we've ever gotten. That third and fourth segment stretch, I mean, from the action was unbelievable, like mind-blowing. The story was really solid. Some of the twists and turns that we get on the back part of the episode, when we get to the spoiler and we're talking about it, for me, the ending was a little flat. It kind of like introduces an idea that I was like, oh, really? That's how we're gonna end. Now, I did have a buddy who introduced an idea that I was like, ooh, if that was going on, that would be interesting. Which then made me just start thinking in general. And there are some things that happen toward the end that could have major implications to the American Horror Story universe as a whole. And if those play out correctly, it might change how I feel about how this season ended. But for what we were given, I was really hoping for something slightly different. And I want to say something, but it might give away things, and I don't want to do that in this non-spoiler section. That being said, like I said, overall, I think the episode is really solid all the way through. There were a couple moments where I was like, that's what we're doing, but ultimately, the more I sat and kind of let it digest a little bit, I did enjoy it. And then the acting, again, tonight was just on fire. And it starts with our leads, Cody Fern and Sarah Paulson. Cody Fern's been phenomenal all season, so is Paulson. And they were both operating at their peak level tonight. And like I said, some of that stuff comes out in that third segment. And the stuff we get to see and what they're delivering, man, they were just so on the money all night long. And Cordelia gets maybe the line of the entire series. Sarah Paulson, when set up in the situation that she's in, the execution of what has to happen is done well, but the line that it accompanies it just elevates what happens to like tenfold. It was something that like I had kind of been theorizing about pre-show. And if you were following along, if you were in on the live stream, you heard what my theory was, and it did kind of play out in that way. But the line they gave Paulson was just the cherry on the top of the ice cream sundae, man. It was so good. But like I said, I really dug everybody in this episode. I know we get a little bit of Evan Peters and Billy Eichner, and every time they pop up, they put a smile on your face for as brief a time as they're there. Like I said, Cody Fern has just been crushing it as the Antichrist Michael Langdon all season long, and he shined big time in this episode. Man, he has multiple moments of different ranges of Michael that all worked really, really well. Billy Lord. I fell in love with Billy Lord this season, man. She was phenomenal. And what they give her to do as Mallory, she really executes quite well. I've just loved her character. And then, like, where we get to at the end, it was funny. Like, during the watch party and in the live chat, like, we were talking about how, like, all of a sudden, Mallory, like, look-wise, like, the makeup and stuff they used just elevated. It was like she was bright. It was literally like she was brighter on screen. But like this glow of it, it's the way things play out. But like just everything that's been going on with Billy Lord this season, I just thought she crushed it. And we get this wonderful bit with Mallory and Coco that, oh man, talk about putting the feels on you. Like just a thing that added to that story that was like, oh man, I didn't even think about that until this moment right now. And now, oh, I love me some Coco. Really, really good stuff with them. I really dug Emma Roberts. Her style is just always so on fire and on point, and her style is rocking in this episode. And like I said, everybody that's involved in the episode does a great job. But there is a lot of shocking stuff that goes on, especially right in the middle. And the way in which things happen, you were just like, wow. Now, like I said, it ultimately, I think, concluded in a way where at first I was like, and then I was like, you know what, I'm okay with this. Like, if this is how it's going to play out, right at the end, there was like something where I was like, ooh, maybe like fate has something to do with things. I could dig this. And it sort of does, but there's the ultimate end was just, it was kind of flat after a really, really strong episode. However, the big twist that comes right at the end could have major implications as we move forward. And now we are going to move forward in the recap, man. We're done with the non-spoiler stuff. If you haven't watched the episode yet and you just wanted to get like a basic idea of what we were thinking, you've reached the end of the video for yourself. Get out of here, man. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck up out of here. But go watch the episode, come back, pick up right where you left off, and get into the spoiler section. So if you haven't watched the episode, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, get out of here, man. It is time to dive into the spoiler stuff. And this episode was just insane. Like I said, that middle stretch is unreal. But we do a really good job of kind of cleaning up everything in those first 2 acts, where we kind of get to see some of the stuff play out. Like we get to see, and what really played out big, I didn't say it in the non-spoiler, Myrtle, what she ends up doing at the beginning makes you go, what? We open with Myrtle going to see Miss Venable to ask about like the project that Venable's been given, which is running all of the bunkers. And when she goes in there, she clearly has an agenda, and she uses her witchery to mess with Mutt and Jeff, the Evan Peters and Billy Eichner characters. And unfortunately, they met the first demise. Unfortunately, was 2 of my favorite characters from this season, as Myrtle kind of has to put an end to them so that she can finish doing what she needs to do, and that's to manipulate and alter things to benefit what the witches are doing. So she kind of goes in, puts like a trance on Miss Venable so she can take her key card, and goes in and restructures after threatening, Jeff and Mutt, restructures who's going to end up at that California bunker so that all of the witches can end up there. And then we get to see Cordelia talking to Coco and Mallory and basically saying the only way that this is going to work, like me and me and Madison and Myrtle, we got to do our own thing. But to keep you guys safe, we're going to wipe your minds, give you new memories, and introduce you into the world. And we have this moment between Coco and Mallory where Coco's like, I don't. No, not me. Like, it shouldn't be me. Like, I don't want that. Like, and when they tell her that she's gonna have to keep like putting Mallory down to kind of hide her, keep or contain her ultimate powers from coming out. Coco like breaks down and is like, Mallory is my best friend. I'm so sorry for anything that I say in the future. And all of a sudden, this like crazy, outrageous, like only cares about herself character comes like breaking apart into this like really heartfelt emotional bit between the two before Cordelia kind of wipes their minds and gives them this new identity with the spell. And I was like, wow. Like, I just something I didn't expect, and it's something I really, really dug. Now there was a real strange thing. It was another thing that we were talking about in the live watch party. Was that like the spell that they put on? Like Cordelia says to Myrtle at one point, like the spell's so powerful. Like even if we put them, basically what happens is they have the two of them, but then they also find out Adina, Dina Stevens when Madison comes back from dropping, off Mallory and Coco. After she drops them off because they've had their minds wiped, she comes back and she's like, I saw Dina Stevens has a talk show. There's no way that woman would get a talk show without selling her soul to the devil. I was like, oh, that's good. And then what we ultimately find out is the reason that Dina is at the bunker is that the witches want her there. On purpose. That's the one thing I loved about the beginning part of this episode, seeing all the chess pieces getting laid out by the witches to kind of set up this ultimate run. And when we do get, to being caught up forward, where everyone's back, like Dina is even like, you raise, Michael, could we get back to where we were in episode 1 where Michael's down the stairs telling him, like, you guys are going to lose anyway. Like, I don't know what you're doing. And Dina's like, yeah, you brought me back so you could have voodoo on your side for this battle, but you should have known that I only go one route, and that's to go this way. And then we get the like head exploding out like emoji moment where Cordelia looks at her and goes, no, you don't understand. This is what we wanted. We didn't save you so we would have your powers. We saved you because we need your soul. And we find out that Cordelia went back to Papa Legba and basically said, I'll give you the soul of the most powerful voodoo queen that's on Earth if you give me back the voodoo queen, Marie Laveau. And Angela Bassett comes walking out. I lost my shit. I mean, I was like, woo! What? Like, because everything that coming into the season, Angela Bassett said she was not coming back. She wasn't going to be in this season. It was like kind of why we had to play the Dina Stevens card and, whatever. And when she came on screen, I lost my shit. It was the biggest pop of the entire season, and that just started the run of all the crazy stuff that goes down from just from this whole section. So it's like one of those, like, she shows up and immediately, Miss Mead pulls off her arm to reveal the gun, and Paulson goes to work, man. It was great to see Cordelia all of a sudden say a spell and boom, Mead blows up, knocks everybody all over the place. And then they're all kind of getting up, like Madison grabs the gun and just lays into Michael, and he goes up against the wall, dead. And you're like, wait, what? We're halfway through the episode. Michael's dead. It's like, no way. And naturally, Myrtle and, Cordelia both kind of confirm bullets are not going to kill him. He's way too powerful. We need to get out of here. And Madison, ultimately says, I'll stand guard and buy us as much time. If he comes to, I'll lay him out again and buy us as much time as we need. Because in order to pull off it was such a great back and forth too during that moment, because Cordelia basically gets to tell him, like, yeah, you think you got all these things, but we have a plan. We're gonna F your world up, bro. So they're gonna go and try to pull this thing off. And the minute Madison was like, I'll stay here, I was like, oh no, Oh no, she's a total goner, and naturally she gets distracted for a minute. She's looking away, and when she looks back, Michael is standing. And the lead up to Michael coming back to life was really cool. The blood that was on the floor like sucked back into his body, which was really kind of neat to watch. And then I said beforehand, right? Like at the beginning, during the watch party, and even like just talking to people today, I was like, the things I need to see Michael at his peak power doing some crazy shit. And that's exactly what we get, man. He like just looks and Madison's like, "Oh no." And he goes like this and her head explodes. So many things were exploding in the third segment tonight between Mrs. Mead's body blowing up. And when that happens, like the look in Michael, he's so furious that that when he comes back from all those gunshots, poor Madison don't stand a chance and her head blows up. Like it's just a close up and it happens so fast, it's just and just the body drop. It's oh man, and you're like, oh no. And then you think you're done with the pops and the shocks, like, oh, here we go. We cut back to the witches, and Billy Eichner pops up as Brock, right? The kind of semi boy, what we thought was a boyfriend with Coco, but what we found out is she just met him in the salon, and was gonna bring him along. And as they're coming around, he stabs Mallory in the stomach. Oh my god! And he was like, "I should have been on that plane." And I'm like, no, that's the new Supreme. Like she's gonna be the one that gets us out of this mess. And then you watch her die. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, oh my God. And during the watch party, right before the watch party, just thinking about the episode tonight, came up with the theory that what was ultimately probably going to happen was, we want to see Michael at his peak powers. Things are going nuts. Michael at his peak powers kills Cordelia. And that unleashes Mallory. Or the other thing, which I said was probably more likely, was that some way, somehow, either Cordelia would step in front or sacrifice herself to unlock Mallory's full potential to become the Supreme. And then she dies. And I'm like, oh, dude, I was so certain that was the thing. I thought I nailed that one the way like we were at the beginning of the season when I was nailing some predictions. And then I was right. She dies, and Cordelia tries to breathe it back into her. But for whatever reason, maybe it's because she's actively bleeding out. So like when she blows her back, like tries to blow her soul back into her, she like comes to, but she's out of it and she's still dying. And they kind of put her in a tub, and then kind of her and Myrtle kind of go to head off and cut off Michael. And up to that point, as Mallory's dying, like Angela Bassett comes running up and she's like, Marie Laveau is just like, he's coming, get out of here, I'll hold him off. And they have this showdown. Marie like starts doing some crazy voodoo stuff. We get to see classic Angela Bassett. She's like, you will not pass. And Michael stops. I was like, oh, the voodoo queen of queens is here. And Michael can't do nothing about it, man. She's got powers. And like Michael kind of stops and then smiles. And he's like, you think your voodoo can stop me? Shoves his hand into the chest, rips her heart out, but does it really, really slowly. As I'm trying to who comes running up, it might have been Cordelia or Matt. Someone comes up to him and he just rips the heart out and starts eating it, and then kind of goes into this spiel where he's kind of facing down Cordelia, and he's like, you think that you were outsmarting me? You think that you being here was against what I wanted? I wanted you here. He's like, because she said, she's like, even 1,000 nuclear bombs couldn't kill me. He's like, I knew you'd be a cockroach, climb up the lines in this show tonight, man. Oh, but he's like, I knew you would be a cockroach and find your way back, and I planned for that so that I could put you down myself, and it's gonna feel so good. And he's got a knife. And Cordelia just kind of smiles, and she's like, you shouldn't get your hopes up, because things don't always work out how you like. And she does one of them things where she now has the knife, and then she delivers the line of the entire series. She's holding the knife, and she's looking at Michael, and she's like, you know what? Satan has only one son, but my sisters are legion, motherfucker. And then stabs herself in the heart, plunges off like a balcony, and kills herself. And at the moment of her death, that sends all of her power directly to Mallory, who's able to heal herself and comes back. But that line. Oh, the minute it happened, I was just like, oh, Cordelia. They just gave Paulson the best line in the entire series. And the execution of it, like the smile on her face, like she's like, I got you. Like, you think you got me, I still got you. I'm about to save everything. And she's just like, Satan only has one son, but my sisters are legion, mother. Oh my God, it was so good. And then right after that, I'm like, here we go. Like, Cordelia just got the line of the season. She just won the episode. And then Francis Conroy comes in and wins the episode with Myrtle. As Paulson does it, the guttural no that comes out of Conroy's mouth, it was chilling. Like, I got goosebumps. Like, type chill. Like, it was just so hot, like, so raw. It was the most raw thing I've seen. And then right then I was like, and Francis Conroy just stole defeat out of just stole victory out of the jaws of defeat, man. Took it away from Sarah Paulson, because that moment, like one of the most raw, just feeling moments of the whole series, and I loved it. So here we are, man. That like that whole segment, the amount of people that died. I mean, we lost so many. We got all the way down to 3 witches, or all that was left. I mean, same that Cordelia goes down. She actually stabs. That's what it is. When he's got the heart in his hand, she stabs him through the back and through the chest. And he's like, normally that would have worked, but not anymore. And that's when he eats the heart. And then, unfortunately, Coco just gets a quick neck snap, kind of like a Darth Vader, like, and done. But like that was tough. But Cordelia's send off was by far the best. And just the impact was so solid. And like I said, immediately Mallory kind of comes back and she delivers the incantation, which, as we know in the penultimate episode, she proved that she could go back in time, which would be the ultimate thing that would stop everything. If we could get Mallory to go back in time, we could stop all of this from happening. And when we come back from break, Mallory is back, or actually no, we get a wonderful scene before we even find out. Mallory kind of is doing some voiceover, and we come back to, we see the outside of Murder House, and then we go next door and we pick up where where Jessica Lange had walked in on Michael killing the priest. So we get one more Jessica Lange scene, and it is a doozy, man. The American Horror Story queen came in and stared in the face of a young, naive Antichrist and put him in his place. It was great, man. She just lays into him and then is like, you look like my grandson. I can see his eyes, but you are not my grandson. And like, she kind of chokes him, and then he pushes her up against the wall, and we all know what happened to her, right? She kills herself in the murder house so she can live forever. But she looks at him, she's like, you won't, because you're a coward. And he goes, and she had already told him, like, get out of here, go run away. And he goes running off, and you're just like, oh, Jessica Lange. And then as he runs out, gets hit by a car. And at first I'm just like, oh, what? And then I'm like, oh, Mallory's gonna be. And sure enough, there's Mallory in the car. She runs him over about 4 different times. And Michael's body is kind of like all like broken. And that is the death of the Antichrist. I won't lie. At first, I was like, oh, man. After such an unbelievable Seg 3, I'm like thinking the finale is gonna be all the way up here. And it wasn't pop-wise that way. Gets taken out by an SUV, which I was kind of a little like, what? But more okay with that where we ultimately end up. However, and we'll talk about the ultimate end first, because I want to come back to what happens in between seeing Michael die and the ultimate end. There's a stretch that involves Mallory and the Coven that has major implications. But first, so after that sequence, this major implication sequence takes place, we jump forward to 2020, and we go back to Emily and Tim, played by Kyle Allen and Ash Santos, or Ash Santos and Kyle Allen. The 2 kids that were in the bunker that were not involved with the Witches' Coven in any way, shape, or form, or whatever their plan was. And we see them randomly bump into each other and then fall in love. And at this point, I'm like, oh, see, you can't outrun fate. Like, those 2 were always meant to meet each other. Now their place in the story makes sense. Them at the beginning set up the fact that they fall in love there, that if you alter the past to change the future, fate, they're still going to end up together. And then I'm sitting there going, oh, the apocalypse is going to happen anyway. And that does not happen. And the reason I kept thinking the apocalypse was going to happen is because I thought that shot in the trailer, or like the tease for this week, was Paulson seeing it, but it was the shot when I was talking to one of my buddies. I went back. I was like, "Oh yeah, it is. It's Coco's eyes that are watching it from the plane." So we don't get the apocalypse again, but instead we flash forward, another year, and they have a kid, and then we flash forward 3 years after that, and the kid, they go out and they come home, and the kid has killed the babysitter, and he's sitting there smiling and rocking the way Michael was way back when. So here we are all over again with the Antichrist coming back around. And I was just like, why did we do... I thought this was going to just wrap up this story, because it seems self-contained. And I thought it was going to all get wrapped up. But then I started to think, right? I was talking to my one buddy. My one buddy actually had a theory that was kind of cool. It was like, it's almost like everybody was in hell, and their repeat is the Antichrist just coming back in a different body over and over. I was like, oh, that would be cool, but doesn't quite make... I don't think the dots would align in a way where that would make ultimate sense. But if that was the case, makes the ending a little bit better. However, I think what we ultimately are getting at here is what happens in that spot between Mallory killing Michael and seeing Emily and Tim get married and have, or not get married, but fall in love, have a baby. That baby turns out to be the Antichrist again. And it's the scene where Mallory comes back, and it's after she's taken care of business. She shows up at the school and says, my parents freaked out. And Cordelia's like, well, maybe this can be your home. And she brings her in, gives her a hug, and Billy Lord gives her like the biggest, craziest hug ever. And Paulson's so good. It's one of those, like, I don't know if it almost felt like it was ad-lib, but Paulson is just sitting there. She's like, oh, you're a hugger. Okay. And it's really because Mallory's just so happy that everybody is alive again. And what's really nice is they talk about how everybody's back. But at this point in time, Madison is dead. She's in hell. And so is Myrtle. Myrtle is also dead at this point in the story. So what we've ultimately come to find out is that they're not back. Myrtle remains dead, even though everybody else has come back. And Madison is in hell. And Mallory kind of does a thing where she's like, wasn't quite ready to save her just yet. But we know that she'll pull her out of hell. However, that's not the twist, man. The twist is when she comes back in, she's seeing everybody, she's like ecstatic because she knows everybody, but nobody else knows her. I mean, not even Cordelia. And then we get this wonderful pop moment where like a hooded character is walking through the door, and you're kind of like, ooh, here comes a twist. Who is... It's Nan. Nan comes back to just kind of close up, wrap up some loops. And when she comes back with her is our good, loving friend, Misty Day. And what we come to find out, Mallory doesn't say it out loud in her monologue voiceover. We find out that Mallory, by killing the Antichrist, earned a lot of favors with anybody in hell and was able to bring back Misty, and Papa allowed Nan to come back. But Nan was like, nah, I'm going to go back to Papa because Papa lets me have fun. Which was cool, but it was cool to see the two of them come back but the big twist, even that, right? Like even getting Misty back, getting to see Nan again and find out that she's working with Papa, and that all of this is kind of bought in Mallory. And Nan is the only one that knows that Mallory did what Mallory did, because Nan has been with Papa the whole time. And I guess the going back in time didn't mess up Nan's memory, which I liked. I like that Mallory wasn't the only one knowing that she fixed everything, because now she'll live out everything from this point forward. She doesn't jump back to 2020. But when she comes back in and sees everybody, she's kind of be like, got to see, Zoe's running, classes and whatnot. And then she's talking to Queenie, and Queenie's like, yeah, I got this hotel I'm gonna go to. And I was like, oh yeah, there we go. And Mallory's like, there's so much traffic in LA. Like you'll be at least an hour from the beach. You shouldn't go to this hotel. And that, the more I thought, that's the thing that kind of saves everything that kind of plays out in the end. I'm still confused by the Antichrist coming back around. But altering Queenie from going to the hotel could theoretically have major implications down the line if Murphy is trying to tie everything in again. And obviously, we've had Easter eggs all season long. We can tell that even though this is an anthology series, Murphy has kind of created a massive universe that all of this has a way to tie into each other. For altering hotel, My guess is that whatever next season is going to be maybe not centered around Hotel, but involve Hotel. And without Queenie ever appearing in Hotel, maybe March never approaches Angela Bassett's vampire to kill the Countess. So maybe if Queenie's not dead, Lady Gaga's Countess never dies and we could get to see her again. If that's the case, I might be a little bit more forgiving because Lady Gaga's Countess has been one of my favorite things that's been introduced in the second half of the American Horror Story seasons, right? Like in that bunching, which tends to be looked at as not as good as the first quarter, the first half of American Horror Story. Gaga was the shining moment for me in the second half, and if that means she can come back, and Murphy's gonna tie in more. Okay, but the only thing I'm confused about is the fact that the Antichrist is just reborn as somebody else. Because it's not like, oh, you can't stop the Antichrist from coming. He's going to come, and you're gonna have to stop him physically. Well, it's like, well, we did. He did. He was born. He was a thing. Mallory killed him. So that stuff confuses me. And why those two? What, like, does it have something to do with the fact that they? I don't know. I don't know what would cause them to have the Antichrist. So if you just removed the Tim and Emily stuff from the episode, I think we would have had a perfect season. As perfect a season as you could ask for from American Horror Story. It hurts the episode to kind of have that flat, strange ending. But like I said, the twist of Queenie not going to hotel and everything we got in segs 3 and 4 where we had the showdown with Michael and then the bringing back of Mallory and the line of all lines from Paulson's Cordelia. Ultimately, I thought this finale was really, really solid. Yes, a little flat on the ending, but overall, this season was one of the best ones we've had in a long time. And Murphy did such a great job of tying in so many things throughout the entire course of the season and wrapping it all up fairly well in the finale, despite a flat ending. Look, I'm excited for wherever we're going next. And if all of a sudden Murphy's going to start doing maybe more crossovers, I mean, maybe, like I said, I think Hotel could have a major factor to play into whatever season, comes next in season 9. But if Murphy could show us this here, then maybe he's going to tie in Hotel and something else. And maybe just start to show stop keeping the curtain closed and start opening the curtain to see how all of these seasons tie into each other. And maybe we need the Antichrist to come back for an ultimate crossover series finale. Who knows? So yeah, flat right now, but 3-4 years from now, and they're signed on for 2 more for sure. But if it's only 10, if they go past 10, if we get to an ultimate end where everything kind of wraps up in a way like, oh man, we needed those pieces, then I think there's a good chance we might be more okay with how things ended in the future. But overall, I think American Horror Story Apocalypse, top 5 season for sure. You could probably argue it into the top 3, I think, right there with Murder House and Coven, and kind of put all 3 of them together right at the top, because that has always been the best material. So overall, I loved this season to death. They did so many good things, and even though we got a flat ending, I did get everything I wanted in this episode, right? I got to see Michael at the peak of his powers. I didn't really get to see Mallory do anything crazy, but what led up to Mallory was great to get her to her peak powers. We got good story, we got emotional goodbyes and hellos and reconnects. So many good things working in this episode that overall I'm going, hey, American Horror Story, you rocked it this season, and I enjoyed the hell out of Apocalypse. So that's it, man. 33 minutes following an hour-long live watch party and chat with all you guys. American Horror Story Apocalypse has finally completely concluded for me. We've reached the end of my coverage for season 8, and man, what a fun season it was. I really have to thank all of you guys, from making American Horror Story Apocalypse episode 1 my most viewed video ever, to just interacting with me throughout the entire bit. The most interaction I've gotten on the page has stemmed from American Horror Story, and I can't thank you guys enough. I really, really had a great time watching this season with you. Definitely going to do this for the rest of the horror stories that come around. And if we can find any other TV that we all like, maybe a little Game of Thrones in April, we'll do more watch parties. We'll do more live reactions live reaction cut-ups with recaps and reviews at the end of episodes. I really enjoyed this. It was a fun experience for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope you enjoyed this season as much as I did. And even if the ending was a little flat, I hope you really enjoyed this finale because it did some awesome things. So that's all the Seaman's got to say, man. It is finally your turn. I want you to hit everything you liked and didn't like about this episode. Hit everything you liked and didn't like about the season. Let me know everything you're thinking. Did you hit them theories the way I did, seeing like Cordelia saving Mallory and Mallory reaching full power? Were you blown away by that third segment, man? Leave it all below. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed watching American Horror Story with me, either live or just following along with me all season, please give me a thumbs up, man. Like, thumbs up yourselves, man. I want to give you guys all a thumbs up. Like I said, had such a fun time. But if you enjoyed all of our American Horror Story coverage, please give me a big old thumbs up. And if you really enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, man, so that you are part of the Seaman Sit-Down squad. Make sure that you hit that little bell so you get alerts when I make new videos, and you come and follow along, for some more stuff, because we're always having some fun here. And as we come down to the home stretch of my first year doing this, I want to keep going, man. So come along, follow along, have some fun. Look, you got to get on the Sit-Down squad, if you want to be, in my American Horror Story stuff in the future. So do all those things, man. I hope you come back. I had so much fun. I'm getting out of here. I'm rambling like a crazy person, man. For the Seaman's Cinema Sit-Down, the end of our American Horror Story full season coverage, man. I am the Seaman. I am signing off. Peace. Hey, still here, guys. Well, so is the Seaman, and I'm here to remind you that the fun doesn't have to stop. You can keep it going with just a couple clicks of a button. So make sure you check out videos, either here or here. And if you're new and haven't done it yet, please hit that subscribe button over here.